So TK interface, or TKInter as it's abbreviated, is one of the more popular ways of creating graphical user interface for Python. TK interface is so popular, in fact, that at some point along the journey, it was added as a standard Python library. Now, you still have to import it when you use it because the creators of Python didn't want the overhead of making it a core part of the language, but it is a library that is installed by default with Python. And that's kind of a double-edged sword because what you may find is that it's installed on your computer, but also out of date. So the easiest way to update that is to install the newest version of Python, which will give you the newest version of the TK interface library. So it's a Python library. Like I said, it's usually included with Python. If you've got a Mac in particular, Macs come standard with an older version of Python included. So you definitely want to update your version of Python if you're using a Mac. But the interesting thing about TK interface is that it actually communicates with the operating system, whether it's a Mac system or Windows or even Linux. It communicates with the operating system and uses the actual controls and objects in that operating system to display the graphical user interface. What this means is two things. And number one thing is you don't have to come up with what a window should look like in terms of, are the corners rounded or square, or what color is the menu bar, all of that stuff, because that's decided at the system level. It makes it a little easier for you to create something, because if I just say I want a button right here, unless I change it specifically, that button will look like all of the other buttons on my computer in all of the other programs. And the other nice thing about that is not only so the first nice thing is you don't have to create those things. You don't have to come up with those ideas. And the other nice thing is that we don't have to come up with those things ourselves, which I say in the sense of we're a TK interface sort of protects us from ourselves, because when we come up with buttons and controls and things like that, for the most part, unless you've been trained and gone to school and studied the art of the user interface design, the stuff you're going to come up with, and I would include myself in this 99% of the time, is not going to be as good as what's already there on your computer. And the reason for that is that the people that created Windows, the people that created Macintosh operating system, even the people that created Linux, there are folks in those professions that design those things and work really hard to make sure that they are the best possible user experience that you can get. So the likelihood that somebody who is sort of like, I'm just playing around with TK interface for the first time, the likelihood of us coming up with something better than that is very slim. So it's really nice. It's a nice feature for us. The TK interface just uses the system controls already. It makes it easier for our users because they know what a button looks like, they know what a scroll bar looks like, a menu. They see those things, they know how to interact with them, right? They know how they're supposed to work. And they work in the way that they're supposed to work based on how that system already implements them. So that already helps our usability. The last thing about TK interface is that it organizes objects, and the objects in TK interface are called widgets. So it organizes those widgets in a hierarchy. And we've dealt with hierarchies before in our programs.